Hello there, it's Jay here from Jay's Vintage Junk, and I've been embarking on one of my favourite pastimes, that is skip diving. The church across the road from me had a skip in their car park, and whenever I see a skip in their car park I always have to go and have a little bit of a nosy. And this was quite a good one. They must have been having a bit of a clear out, and the skip was full of all sorts of what I will call just general rubbish and junk and things I think left over from jumble sales and you name it, and a couple of interesting items which I grabbed, which aren't vintage tech. They are vintage but not vintage tech, so I'm not going to cover them here. But next to the skip, what they'd done, being very nice people, is they piled everything that was metal up together, presumably so when the scrap men come round, rather than digging through the skip and making a mess, all the anything that was metal was just piled up next to it, ready for them to take. They didn't get all of it. They didn't get very much of it, to be honest, because in amongst that lot I got a couple of very nice dehumidifiers that new would have cost £1,000, which worked perfectly. I've got one at a friend's house at the moment, drying his basement out. And some various stuff. I picked up some little stereo speakers, Sony stereo speakers, probably 90s or early 2000s, just because they're useful, you know, and they were in the scrap pile. And I picked this thing up. This is what I'm basically most pleased with and most happy about picking up from the whole lot. Well, tech-wise, the type of stuff we like messing around on here with wise. And this is this. Ooh. This was in amongst the scrap metal. And what we've got here. Now this dates probably, this could date anywhere from, say, the 1930s up to the 1950s. And this is a Benjamin, made in the USA, I believe made in Illinois, industrial light. Now these are fairly fairly common. They're also fairly sought after. Most of them are actually lights that we could hang down from a ceiling like that. This isn't one of them. This, I believe, actually is a studio light. It would have been on a stand like that, adjustable, possibly in a photography studio, but it could have quite equally been, you know, like an art studio or something like that to light a subject up. If we look on the inside, we've got what's left of a mirrored finish. Obviously, like I said, this is very old. It's been probably in the basement of the church for many, many, many years before they decided that's a load of rubbish, let's get rid of it. But I think I love anything like this. If you know my background's in theatre lighting and set design and that side of things, and I also my other background is actually in building conservation and management, basically looking after historic buildings and things like that, and I have a lot of interest in old industrial antiques and industrial architectural pieces and stuff. So like I said, something like this is really, really right up my street. So what I thought we'd do with this today in this video, obviously this actually has got a plug on it. There is no way in this world that plug is going anywhere near a 13 amp socket. The wiring on this, I would not trust it. So what basically we're going to do in this video is we're going to pull this thing apart. It's all pretty much seized up, I think. All these are seized up. Oh, that might be loose actually. But this wiring, it's not even the right type of wiring. This is like probably 1950s household mains wiring. The old rubberized household mains wiring. Back many, many years ago when I used to be an electrician, we was like, when I first qualified as an electrician, this is going back a very long time, I think we were like the last electricians to be finding like this kind of stuff in houses and in installations and removing it and replacing it with PVC. This is actually in amazing condition for how you normally find this stuff. Presumably because, like I said, it's been in a cellar or something, and the light and everything's not got to it, because this is still lovely and flexible, but we are not using that. Right, so let's start where we mean to go on. Let's get rid of this wiring. We'll pull the unit apart and actually look what we've got. So we'll need that. I should have got my Nipex out of my main toolbox, but never mind, I'm sure we can get through it with this. So let's get this all wiring off. There we go. And these are the old rubberized mains wiring like this. So this is actually in amazingly good condition. Usually the rubber is starting to fail on it and just crumble to rubbish. But if you look, this is the main reason why you can't use it anymore. One thing, you've got the wrong colour code. We've changed the colour code since this was made. But if you look, we've got a live and a neutral with no earth. The old rubberized stuff like this didn't have an earth in it. You actually ran your earth separate if you was using one. So anyway, we're going to get that out of the way. Again, another reason why we wouldn't have just been plugging it in. We've got a... Shall we untape that just for the fun of it and see what it's like in there? Just see how bad it is. And this looks like it was done a very, very long time ago, judging by this... oh dear, this tape. So we've got like a PVC tape there. And then inside we've got... very old insulation tape. This is the self-amalgamating fabric insulation tape, and that's just all flaking off there. This is why you've got to be really careful when you find things and resist the temptation just to plug it in, unless you really know what you're doing and you've been working on this stuff for years and years and years. So this has basically not got any adhesive on it anymore. I can just unwrap it like that. They've actually done a reasonable job of, well, look there. You see, I can just pull that off. The wires are just twisted together. So yeah, that's why we're not just plugging this thing in and seeing what it does. I think I'll keep the plug. The plug's reasonable. So we'll keep the plug, and that can go in the bin. We'll get that out of the way and we'll get that in the bin. There we go. Right, so let's have a look here. What are we going to need to do? Handy, we can get these undone, and then we can get all the other bits of the fixtures and what have you off it, and then we can have a proper look at it. So perhaps a drop of oil or something on them. What have we got kicking about? It's not that. A bit of this might do. I think don't think we've got any. Ooh, what have we got under there? Have we got anything under there? Let's have a look. I had a bit of a tidy out on here when I put the new power supply in the other day, and I think I've moved all my lubricants and what have you, and I'm not sure what I've done with them. See what? Bear with us a second, folks. I'll find some lube and we'll be right. Right, okay, we're back. Well, I don't know where my WD's gone, but I've got some sewing machine oil here, so this should do. All we want to do, we'll put a little drop on the threads there, and hopefully it can just creep in. Perhaps try a little bit on there as well. And like I said, hopefully you can just creep into them threads and we might have a chance of getting them undone. Let's have a look. Oh, well, that came out easy, didn't it? I don't think that's meant to come out like that. I actually think that's meant to be fixed in, as that's meant to be part of that fixing, so we're going to have a look at that. So there's our original lamp holder. We've got an Edison screw, and we've got an Osram 200 watt light bulb. I don't know if that'll come up on the camera there. Let's see, can that focus on the camera? Oops, there we go, something like that. Hopefully you can see that, but it's basically, that's Osram 200 watts, made in Great Britain. Wonder if it's any good. If that's any good, it's definitely not going back in here. I've got a far better use for that, and that is to be able to use it in my lamp limiter for when I'm working on old valve equipment, because the biggest I've got at the moment is 100 watts, and a 200 would be very useful. Right, let's get that down onto a continuity. Let's see if this bulb's any good. Fingers crossed. Oh yes! Awesome! So that actually is okay. We could actually run it up with that. The thing is, me using that on the lamp limiter, it's going to get very little actual load on it, because it's being used as a load. If you put that into service, it could blow at any time, so I think I'll rather just keep that and keep it for use in my lamp limiter, and we'll go with a modern equivalent, which is an LED one that I've got there that we can put in. So right, we've got the original thing. Let's put that to one side. It actually looks in reasonable condition. All this is either brass or copper, all the contacts. There's not a lot of rust on it. A little piece of safety, it'll be Paxlin or something like that there. We need to keep hold of that. We could replace it with a piece of rubber if we had to, but we have got the original and it looks in good condition. That is vital, because if we didn't have that, there's a chance that the brass terminals there are going to be able to short out and cause a short. Put that to one side and let's take attention to the actual fitting. I did actually have a look online. Oh, that's freed up. Oh, that's stiff. Hang on a minute. Now you've got to be very careful. You don't want to put a lot of force on this, because you could risk snapping it off, and then we'd have to drill it out and tap it and do things like that, which I don't really want to get into. Best thing to do is just try rocking it backwards and forwards. Try a little bit more and rock it back, and basically try to just break the rust in the thread. There we go, that's coming. That's freeing up. That should come off actually. Nice. It turns, but it's not enough to come off. Let's have to go a bit further. I've got to gnarl that up with these. That's turning now. Come on, off you come. There we are. I'll have to clean all that up. It's there we go. There we go. So there's obviously part of this bracket is missing. There would have been another piece of it on there, so it would have been like a double joint. So unfortunately we don't have that. We don't have the original stand for it, although I do have something we can actually put it on. I've already taken care of that, courtesy of the scrap that was over there as well actually. So yeah, that's okay. And I am not going to completely restore this. I actually like a bit of the look about it. I'll probably add some oil to these just to make them so they don't look quite as rusty, or a bit of WD or something. But like I say, I'm not going to repaint this. I'm not going to, you know, really clean it up or anything. I actually quite like a little bit of the degradation on it, the look that it is old. I mean, this thing, like I say, it's anywhere from the 30s to the 50s these were made. So it's, you know, it's 90, at the very youngest it's like 70 odd years old. It could be 90 odd years old. But yeah, that seems to be alright now. I can turn that. In fact, what we could even do is we could get a little bit more of that sewing machine oil, just drop it on them threads now and run it in and out and just make it a bit. Yeah, let's do that. Let's get a little bit of sewing machine oil. We'll put a little bit on the thread like that. Just put that in. That should help immensely. There we go. That's freed it up. That's freed it up really nicely now. There we go, that's good as new. Right. We'll have a look at that after. Let's turn our attention to this top one. Oh, that's just turning now. Right, there we go, that was lovely. That's come out. Let's see if that'll... I'm guessing that will push out from there. There's a little bit on the stiff side. I think what I'll have to do is perhaps just clean that up a little bit. It seems it's going. Tell you what, bear with me a second folks, I'm going to get something to try and just clean some of the muck off there and see if I can get that to go through there. So I'll be right back. Right, okay, we're back. I did manage to get it out. Basically I took a bit of wire wool like that and scraped it round, and eventually I managed to get it through. It wasn't particularly easy though. And this is the first thing we're going to have a look at. So we've got, let me see if I can get you down a little bit so you can have a look at this. This is quite cool. This is it says Benko, patent 13424, and it's 1905, and then it's got another patent 27208, which is 1909. I believe the patent is actually for this particular kind of bayonet fitting that this uses. Now, I was hoping that there was a way of that. It looks like we might have a piece missing here, unfortunately, that holds that into there. This might be a bit more of a problem than I originally thought it was going to be. That's slightly bent, but we can get around that. We can straighten that. But yeah, I get rid of this old wiring off here. We'll pull the old wiring out. Right, there we go. So it looks like we're missing some kind of retaining collar or something that goes around there and holds that actually in place. That's going to be an issue, I think. If they line up there, fine. That goes down on there, fine. So they line up. That sits in. Like I say, I'm guessing there should be something that screws on the top there that holds that in place. Now, I wonder if I can come up with something to replace that with. All it has to be is something that basically will hold round. It can't touch that though, can it? Otherwise our earth and our ground are going to be together, and we don't want that. We're also going to have to earth this, which I was thinking all I'll do is drill a little hole in the bottom that I can put an earth and a spade connector on, so that's fairly easy to get round. What is not as easy to get round is going to be how to secure that in there in a safe manner. Let me have a think, chaps. Let me have a think, see what we can do. I will come back as soon as I've come up with a solution to that. So back in a sec. Right, okay, we're back, and I've been trying all sorts, to be honest, looking at various lids and things that I could find that would basically be able to make something that would screw on there. I've looked through everything I've got and I've not got anything. And really, to be honest, this is pretty safety critical, because like I said, if this was to start moving around, the chance one of these would break loose. The only thing you've got to stop it short is that little piece of, I think it's either Paxil in a card or something there. So, I want to be able to have this to be able to use it. I want it safe. So what I've decided, what I found, I think we're going to sacrifice that. Now this is just an old basic table lamp. It's no good anyway, the switch on it's iffy. You have to keep fiddling with the switch to actually get it to stay on, so I'm not too married about actually scrapping this. It was going in the bin really anyway. But what it has got is a screw fitting in there, which I think we can adapt safely to that with an earth and everything, and get this project back on the way. So I'll get that out of there first. So this lamp's, it would have been going in the bin eventually anyway, because it's irritating keeping having to fiddle about with the switch on it. And yes, I don't need it, so it's not even really worth me putting a new switch in it. So we might as well salvage the bit that we can use out of it. Right, okay. We want the, we're not bothered about the wire at all, to be honest. We can just snip it there, so we'll be putting new wire on. Oop. Ah! And we lose the bit that we want. Lovely, hopefully that hasn't broken on the floor. No, it's not. Right, great, that's what we want really, because we've got a nice little bracket there. We can modify this slightly. Bring the wires out the back there. Yes, I think this will work quite nicely for our purposes. I have to do a little bit of modification to get it to fit in there. We'll see. But this I think I can make work. That we'd have to do a bit of a kludge to it to get it to actually work, which is a shame, because I really like to keep things as original as possible, but safety and everything, I think I'll rather go with that, which is going to make life a little bit easier, and we can get it to work right anyway. I'll get this stripped down. We don't want that old, oh dear me, that's been toasty at some time. Let's get rid of that old crispy wiring. There we go. We've got that protector there, so the wires can go through there, and then there's going to be no way that that's going to be able to short on anything. So in fact, if I put that in like that, what I think we're going to have to do is get all that lined up and drill through the back and bolt that straight through the back to there like that. That should work nice, and we should be able to get that fairly square in there. What I was originally hoping to do was use that bracket actually, and you know, screw that bracket in like that, but I think it's going to be too high. I don't think there's going to be enough room. I could try possibly in fact, bear with me a second folks, let me see if I can re-bend that and see if we could get it to work like that. I'll have a bit of a play, see what I can get to work, and once I've got something that I think is going to be viable, we'll come back and we'll see what we come up with. So back in a sec. Right, okay, we're back, and I've been having a fiddle and a faff around for a while, and this is basically what I've come up with. So yeah, I took that bracket and basically straightened it out and re-bent it and got it to fit there quite well. And that's nice and solid in there. I said that we had a chance of it flopping all around, and it's got that plastic insulator screwed to the back of it, so there's no chance of the wiring shorting out or anything. I'll put a bulb in, you can see it's fairly straight. It's actually probably a little bit straighter than the old one was when you actually get it in there. So I think that's going to work quite well. So what we need now is we need wiring to wire it with, and what I've done, now where is it? There it is. I actually as soon as I picked this thing up, I went online, and this was actually cheaper than buying the parts separate. But I actually got a lighting wiring kit. Now basically what we've got in here if I can get in here, come on. There we go. So what we've got in here, we've got new 13 amp plug, we've got a foot switch, and we've got 4 meters of reproduction, basically 3-core, it's 0.75mm 3-core mains flex. Like I said, with a reasonable vintage look to it. There's a cloth cover over there, and that comes down, so we've got a couple of meters there, and we've got the plug at the end there. So I think that'll work for this quite nicely. So it's going to at least look fairly in keeping with what we're doing here. We are going to have to come up with something for the end there, because whatever was on the end that the cable came out of is missing. I actually have something that might work for that. I was having a rummage through some of my junk. I think it's off an old power tool or something, but we've got a big spring with a bit on the end, and I think we should be able to do something where we can get that in there. About the same. I think I could possibly do something so I can make that fit in there. Possibly a bit of heat shrink over it, and then that will I think that will go through there. Let's have a go. Yeah, that should work quite nicely actually. That should look quite decent. So all we've got to do is make that fit in there. It's very, very close actually. Bear with us a second. I will have a fiddle about with this as well. What I might have to do is take that apart. It's a pity I haven't got a metalworking lathe really, because that'd be so easy just to put in a metalworking chuck and spin down. I'm not going and getting my woodworking laid out, because it is only aluminium. I could possibly even do it with that, but let me have a think. I will see what I can do about getting that to fit in there, and then we can carry on putting this thing together. So back in a sec. Right, and basically there we go. That is now quite tight in there. Essentially what I ended up doing, I picked these up from Lidl a little while ago in the clearance section, and what they are, they're sideways cutting drill bits. So I just used one of those and basically bored out the inside of that pipe a little bit until I could get that to slide in. And then basically just hammered it home, so it's an interference fitting there, but I mean that is not coming out of there, that is absolutely solid. What I might actually do it as well when I've put that away because they may come in again. What I might actually do when I've got this all assembled is perhaps just put a little bit of black heat shrink over that, just to finish it off completely. I can't do it quite yet because I still need to get that back into the back of there. In fact, what I'm also going to do to make life a little bit easier, the flex that I bought here, I'm going to disconnect the switch there, so I've just got this piece of flex to work on. I can get all this built up and then we can put it back in the switch. I think that'll actually be easier than trying to work with all this connected. Plus I want to have a quick look what these switches are like, because I'm sure this is cheap made in China stuff. Did I mention, basically it was cheaper to buy this than buy a piece of cable, the switch and a plug. This entire thing was only £10.50 including postage. Quality wise, actually, I mean cable wise, from what I've just seen, I would like it to have been a little bit more flexible, but colour wise and everything else, it doesn't look too bad. Right, let's get this open. At least I am hoping that these aren't like soldered, well, it doesn't matter if they're soldered in, but you know, like crimped in or anything. It should be terminal connections in here with a little screw terminal, so we should be able to take this apart and reuse it. Because I think these are the same switches that you can buy on like eBay and Amazon. They do look very, very much like them. There we go, we're in. Oops, yeah, lovely. In fact, I'm glad I've gone in there, because that wire is pretty that wire is pretty horrific. And all they've done is break the one wire, so that's a pain. I'm gonna have to take. Oh, I'm not happy. Oh, that's crap. Oh, these are really poor quality. It's like a push fit the switch, the wires into the switch. I think if you press in there, you can release it. Yeah, perhaps these are not recommended. You push something into that little hole there and I think the wire will release. Oh, if I got that'll go in there. Let me have a look. Where's my... Aha, that might work. Yeah, not impressed at all with these this switch, I'm afraid. Like I said, the wire's okay. The wire doesn't look too bad, but this switch is pretty dire. How'd you get it from there? In fact, I can't see any way of getting that out. I think we're going to... Oh, this is going to be a pain now. Right, how are we going to do this? Well, right, let's put this back together, because that was a bad idea. If you're going to do this, don't expect to be able to modify the switch or anything in one of these. It's no. It might work alright, but you're not going to be modifying the switch. That is really horrendously poor quality. In fact, I'm tempted to look for a better switch. It'll do for the time being, it'll do for proof of concept, but Come on. Tell you what, bear with me folks while I try and get this damn switch back together, because I have a feeling I'm going to struggle here a little bit now. I need to get all that lined up. And yeah, bear with us a second folks. I'll get this back together and we'll try a plan. Right, okay, I got it together. I was just checking it and I just noticed something. This is horrendous. Right, if I go on the brown there, which is the live, and we're just going to connect to the live on the plug. So I was just trying to see whether the once I got the switch all back together, it worked. So let me get that connected there. Right, so we're on the live there. If you listen, yeah, I'll go to the live on the plug, and I'll try switching the switch. Doesn't work. Go to the neutral on the plug. That's the brown that I'm connected to there. Let's have a look in this plug. So what is going on here? You can see I'm on blue there. I'm on brown there. Oh. No, it is right. Sorry, I'm being an idiot. Oh. That legend's wrong. It's back to front. Yeah, live is right. I'm being an idiot. Don't worry about it. It's too late. But what I have noticed, that car grip there's not done up properly. That should be on there like that. Right, there we go, that's better. Let's have a look in here, how well's it wired. We've not got a lot of slack on the earth there. We've got loads and loads of slack on the live there. We've got loads of slack on the neutral there. It's not good. I will rewire that, to be honest. I won't do it on this video, but yeah. That wire there should have plenty of slack on it. That wire there should have plenty of slack on it. And the live there should be dead short, because that should always be the first wire to pull out. Apart from that, at least I see we've got the correct 3 amp fuse in there, but no, the card grip wasn't secured correctly. And that's, like I said, that switch is pretty nasty in there. It does work, but it's not good. Put it that way. It's not good. I would like to see something a bit better than that, but never mind. What can you do? It was £10.50, and the wire's okay. The wire's not bad. Right, and what we're going to have to do, I'll get you zoomed out a little bit, I think. Well, I can't get you zoomed out. You zoomed out all the way there. I'll have to get you up. What we'll have to do, what we will have to do, let me have a think how we're going to do this now. If we put a piece of heat shrink that we're going to use for over there on this wire first. So let's find some heat shrink. Oh, I mean, that's only for cosmetics really, but if I don't put it on now, we're not going to get it on. So, not with the way that switch is. If I could have dismantled the switch, that wouldn't have been a problem. I want some black. That's too big. What's that? Will that work? That's too small, isn't it? Yeah, that's far too small. That bit that I said was too big, is it too big or is it just right? think it's just going to be just right. It might be too small. I think we could probably sneak a piece of that over there and then shrink it down. Yeah, I think that'll work. Don't want all that. I've got a smaller piece. Have I got anything in here that would work? Let's try this. I think we might be cutting a piece off that, but yeah, that's too small. That we'll just get away with, so we'll cut a piece of that off. So it's always cosmetics just so we can hide where that thread is, because there would have probably been some kind of fancy fitting on the end there originally, but so it's at least 70 years old, if not more, this light, so you can forgive little bits and bats going missing. So yeah, we'll have that to go over there, and we'll fit that on when we've finished it all and then shrink it down. So I'll throw that on the cable first. I can go down on the cable. Then what we need to do is we need to thread that through the light fitting, like that. Right, okay, we'll leave that down there for now. We don't need to worry about that. We need to worry about... Hang on, have I got that right? Yes, I've got that right at the moment. Yeah, because that's down there. But that, yeah, that's okay. That's good. Right, now we need to get that in there. So let's take this that I knocked up. Let me get you in a little bit closer so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. Right, so let's get this back apart that I made previously. I want to put a washer on there anyway, because this aluminium's only very, very thin. So there's the thing I've modified. Now we've got a screw sticking out there, and I think that's going to come handy in a minute, because we're going to have to be able to get an earth to this. So what we'll do, we'll feed the wire down there like that. That should give us enough to play with. Now we need to be able to get this, so we've got the live and the neutral in there, and the earth somehow connected to that there, and then that can earth to that. So originally they wouldn't have had an earth on this. Back then they didn't really have any concept of grounding things. Alright, so that's out. Ooh, this one's going to be a bit tight, I think. I did lose one of the original screws and had to find one that nearly fit. I mean, it's the right thread, but the head... there we go, got it. The head was a little bit on the long side. In fact, I might be able to get a slightly longer one and do what I was initially planning here. I think the head on that got... there we go, we're off. Right. So we've got that apart. That's the... I've just slightly bent that, but never mind. Slightly straighten it again. There we go. That's all I did basically, is I put it in the vise and straightened it flat, and then just re-bent that angle there to bring that a little bit closer in like that, so it'd actually work in that housing. Right, now we've got all that apart again. What we need to do is we need to cut back our live and neutral there, because they're a little bit on the long side. Let's cut them back to say about that. No, let's cut them back to about that, because they do need to go through. Where has it gone? What have I just done with it? Oh, there it is, it's on the floor. Oh, we've got that little plastic piece that is out of the other light, which is much better protection than that, which was on the old fitting there. So I want live and neutral to go through there like that. That should work, and they will connect to the there like that. Okay, let's get them stripped off. There we go. We'll twist them and we'll fold them. So we've got a nice good chunk of copper there to connect to. Get in there. So we've folded the wires over. Let's make sure that them connections are well out, because we're going to need all that terminal to get these in there. There we go. So what this is going to be a little bit fiddly to do. We want it that way round, and we want to make sure that the one at the bottom there goes to the live, so that side there goes to the live. It doesn't matter on a bayonet, but on the Edison screws, really you want the bottom part to be the live part and the side part to be the neutral part. Let's get that wire so we can push that in there. This is going to be a little bit fiddly to do. Alright, that's in there. Let me get that tightened down. There we go, that's nice and tight in there. And the same thing to do with this side, and obviously this one's going to be a bit fiddlier because I've got that one in there already. Let's go on, in you go. There we go, we've got it in. Lovely. Hold that in place with my fingers like that while I just get this terminal tightened up. There we go. Right, okie dokie. There we are. So that's our live and our neutral connected. We've got our earth out here so we can do something with it. So what we're going to do, when we reattach this bracket here, we're going to attach the earth connection there to the bottom of that bracket. So let's get this top hole in. Oops. Of course it dropped in upside down, never mind. Let's try that again. Alright, let's see if we can get this. This is where you need another pair of hands. You always, whenever you're doing something like this, you always need that extra finger or that extra hand that you just don't have. There we go, got it started, lovely. Right, we can get all this squared back up. There we go, that's bent back in place. I'll put that screw in, and then I will find another screw. For the next bit. Right, so we want basically what a screw for in there. Let's see what we've got. Let's have a look in here. Right, let's see what we've got in here. A bit long. Let's have 4 of that, I think. I'm sure I've got something suitable. that's a bit on the long side. We'll cut it down. Oh, what are you there? They're a bit too long. There's the fat. That might just do nicely. Right, and that's got a couple of washers on it already. Right, okay. That's a little bit longer, so let's see if we can drop that through. That should work. Right, need a flat blade for that. Sorry, you can't see what I'm doing. I'm off shot again, aren't I? You have to remember to keep myself in shot. Right, there we go. That's down there. I don't think that's going to interfere with anything. Right, that's nice and tight. And it's left us a nice piece sticking out there. What my plan is, because we need to get a good earth on that. So what I'm planning to do, if we get the earth, we're going to have to strip some more off that. Let me strip that earth back to say about there. Now we could, there's lots of ways we could do this. We could use a lug on it and put a a little terminal on there. But actually, a couple of washers and a spring washer to hold it down. This is how they used to do it anyway. Find another suitable washer. There, that's about right. So what we do is we take the wire, we wrap it basically round like that, nice and tight. Put another washer on top, put a lock washer on, put the nut on, and tighten that down. Make sure that's nice and tight. Obviously, because this is a safety connection. Get rid of the excess there. Just twist that up. There's no way it can short on anything live, because that's all behind that plastic cover. Just snip the excess off there. In fact, what I'll do, seeing I've got the soldering iron there, I'll just tin the end of that just to stop it all fraying and going horrible. But we've got a decent earth connection there now to the outside. There we go. Just so it doesn't all fray and go horrible. So there's our earth. So we've got our connections all in there. I'm fairly safe. I'm fairly happy with that now. What I am going to do, as there's no actual strain relief and there's not really much room in there anymore now, I grab a few cable ties. I'm just going to put a couple of cable ties round the edge like that. All these will mean that if anyone was to pull on the cable, it's not going to be pulling on them wires there, it's just going to be pulling on these cable ties. And even again now, even if someone did yank the wire out, there is an earth there now, so as soon as it touched anything metal, as in that, it's just going to blow the fuse. So you're going to be safe. It's not going to leave you in a situation where you can get hold of the lamp and it be live, which is what we really want to avoid, obviously, because there's nothing going to kill off our hobby and kill off messing with this stuff until someone gets hold of something like this and gets fried. Right there, I'm completely happy with that, because once that's in there, that's not going to be able to pull out. So let me pull that back into there, and hopefully all this will go together and we'll be able to get that down and into there. It's going to be a bit of a tight fit, but I don't think there's going to be any worry about that wire getting I might have to take one of them cable ties off just to get it in. I think one will be good enough. There we are. I think that one there should be good enough anyway. Yeah, there's just enough room now. Get that in there, let's get that to line up. In fact, tell you what, bear with me folks, I'll get this final bit just lined up and tightened up in there, and we'll come right back and we'll finish this right off, so back in a sec. Right, okay, finally got it. I did have to slightly elongate that hole there, move the hole out slightly and put a couple of washers behind it, but basically I'm quite pleased with that. That's in there, it's reasonably straight. I think it will work the way we want it to. So the only thing we need to do now, we take the take this and put it all together again. Right, there we go. Now we take, I think that's about where it was. That's still in there quite decent. Where's that? There it is. That can go back in there. That's it, so that's held back in there. Lovely. I take that piece of heat shrink that I put over the wire earlier and bring that up. We just put that over, hopefully it'll fit. I have to sort of thread it on a little bit onto them threads there, but I think if I'm lucky, yeah. I just push that over there like that. We get the old hot air. There we are. Shrink that down. There we go. That doesn't look too bad. Certainly looks better than just some threads at the end showing. So basically, and it helps hold that in, but that looks a lot better. It looks a lot more finished off than it did, just like I said, with that just showing at the end. Quite pleased with that. The new lamp holder's in there, and it should be adjustable. If we take that, we should be able to move that in and out. Yeah, so that works. Let's try putting a new lamp in it. Excellent. And that's reasonably, it's not perfectly square, but it's good enough. It's good enough for what I want anyway. We've got a new lamp in there. Let's put that back on. And since we oiled that up, that's really nice and easy to do up. And basically there we go. So that should be pretty safe to use now. Thing is, what we need is a stand for it. Now, at the same time as I was hunting and I found that, another thing I found was an old, probably 1960s projection screen. Now, the screen itself wasn't much good actually, because it was one of those tinted ones, it wasn't a white one. And it was a bit rusty and a bit manky. But what I did is I removed the stand from it. And I made a few modifications to the stand, and basically, well, I don't know if you can see it, here we have got a stand for the light. Now let me just unfortunately I've not got much room to be able to show anything at the moment, but at least if I put that down there, get my chair out of the way like that, I can put that there. Can you see what I'm showing you? I don't even know if you can. There we go. Right, so essentially this is the stand here. I modified it slightly so it's locked together without all the other mechanism on it. I still have to paint it up yet. Now the thing was, when I got it, there was just a hook at the top here, so I had to basically take a few bits of metal and weld them to either side of it and clean it all up. And basically what I've created is, let me get a nut and a bolt. But what I've created is a bracket that will allow that light to fit onto it like that there. So let me let's see if we can get this on. Then we can have a go at actually lighting it up. So if I put that in there, put that through there like that. Now originally this would have had like a tilt on the stand, so like a pan on the stand, a tilt, which we obviously don't have. We've still got that pan up there, and the tilt's here, but we don't have a rotate on the top, like I said, which the original stand would have most likely had. But that's not bad. Let me get you up a little bit, give you an idea. Turn it round a little bit. What do you reckon to that? And like I said, you will be able to adjust it like that. You will be able to tilt it. I do still need to make something a little better, obviously, to hold that, perhaps with a wing nut on it. But that's what I'll probably do, is make something so I've got a wing nut so I can tighten it up there. Cable wise is just about right by the look of it, because the cable does drop to the floor, which is what I wanted. So yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. Moment of truth, the question is, does it actually work? Let me turn my top light off, and I'll try and get you back a little bit. Oops, sorry you're going to feel sick now. There's very little room in this workshop, unfortunately, so it's a little bit tricky to do things like this. Right, we need to plug that in. I think it will plug in there. Might come straight on because I don't know where that switch is in. Let's see. Nope. Let's try flicking the switch. Let's see how well it works. So there we go, that switch is on the floor, and excellent! And I can touch it and not die. So yeah, that works quite well. I might even be able to just use this in the workshop for when I'm filming, to be honest, because that is actually quite good. I will have to do something about that to tighten it up a bit more. But yeah, that is actually quite nice. And it has that, basically a little bit of adjustment on the beam. There, it would have more of a cutback, some of that heat shrink, but yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. Considering it's basically all made out of junk which I found heading for the skip, or at least for the scrap man to use, I have turned it back into a nice functioning working light. So yeah, I'm super pleased with that. Switch it back off again. Yeah, hope you enjoyed watching me tinker about with that. Like I say, I love old architectural stuff, old industrial lights and things like this. I couldn't see that just going for scrap. So yeah, I've turned it back into something which is useful again. So I hope you enjoyed watching me mess about with that. So I will say thanks for watching, and goodbye.